Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. And welcome, people. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to another week of English here with me, your host, Jeffrey Banana. No, actually, that's not 100% true now, is it? I mean, some of the information was correct. We are here in the studio, and it's the start of another week of English, and I am your host. But my name isn't Jeffrey Banana. No, I don't know who Jeff Banana is. Maybe this is him. Maybe that's Jeff Banana, maybe not. It's not really important though, is it? No. The main thing is that I'm not Jeffrey Banana. I'm Gav Duncan. But you all know that anyway, don't you? And there's something else that you all know, isn't it? Yes. This is which week? Does anyone know? That's right. This is week 50. Blimey! Week 50! Caramba, Batman! Yes. And who remembers the verb to divide? You all do, I know that. So, the verb to divide, the symbol that we know from mathematics. So, why am I asking you about the verb to divide and the noun from the verb, division? Well, this is week 50, and every week that ends in a 0 or a 5 can be divided by 5 with no remainder. And every week like that, every week that we can divide by 5 with no remainder is a revision week. You all remember, don't you? Every 5th week, we look back on what we learned in the 4 weeks that preceded the 5th week. So, all this week, we're going to have another look at what we saw in weeks 46 to 49. So, if you're all ready, we'll begin. Last week, we started looking at the past continuous tense, didn't we? And this week, we're also going to look at the past continuous tense. This week, we're going to concentrate on the difference between the past simple and the past continuous. And we're going to look at how we often use the past continuous tense to create a background when we're telling a story. We also use the past continuous and past simple tenses together when we're telling a story. And we use the two tenses together to highlight the differences between longer actions in the past and shorter actions, actions which interrupt the longer actions. But first, yes, that's right, we need to have a quick look at the two forms of the past continuous, the negative and the question form. So, hang on to your pants because here we go. Okay, so we all remember that it's a very simple task to make the past continuous, don't we? Do you all remember how we make the past continuous? Yes, that's right. We make the past continuous using the past simple form of the verb to be and then adding a verb with an ing ending. Okay, so who remembers the past simple form of the verb to be? It's an easy one, isn't it? Yes, that's right. The past simple form of the verb to be has got two, count them, 1, 2, two forms. I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, they were. So, that's the past simple form of the verb to be. We use was for the first person singular and the third person singular. That means if we're talking about I or he, she or it, then we know that we need to use was. I was, he was, she was, and it was. If we're using any of the other subjects, the second person singular, for example, or any of the plural subjects, then we need to use were. You were, we were, you were, and they were. Simple. Okay, so we know that we need the past simple of the verb to be. And what else do we have to do? Correctamundo! We have to add ing to the end of the verb that we want to use, don't we? And when we add ing to the infinitive of the verb, we sometimes have to be a little bit careful with the spelling. If the verb ends in an E, then we have to remember to remove the E before we add ing. So, in the sentence, he was living in Ålpustasäär in 2013, we know that we remove the E from the end of the verb to live and then add ing. Now, what else do we have to be careful about? Yes, we have to be a bit careful with the endings of verbs. If the verb ends in 2 vowels and a consonant, or 2 consonants, or if the verb ends in a Y or a W, then we know that it's an easy situation because we don't have to double the last letter before we add ing. If the verb ends in vowel plus consonant, however, we have to remember to double the last letter before we add ing. Okay, now let's get back to where we were, talking about the negative and question form for the past continuous. Now, let's think about the negative form for a moment. What's the word we always see when we make the negative form of a verb in English? Not. That's right. We always use not to make the negative. Think about the present simple positive and negative. When we make sentences using verbs in the present simple, we have to be careful with one thing. We have to make sure that we add s to the regular verbs in the third person singular. I read, you read, he, she, it reads. We read, you read, they read. Now, if the verb ends in y, then we also have to pay attention, don't we? Yes. If the verb ends in vowel plus y, then we add s to the third person as normal. But if the verb ends in consonant plus y, then we change the y to ies for the third person singular. I play, you play, he, she, it plays. We play, you play, they play. I fly, you fly, he, she, it flies. We fly, you fly, they fly. Now, we also know that we have some irregular verbs, like the verb to go, which changes to goes in the third person singular. If a verb ends in ss, or x, or ch, or sh, or o, then we need to remember to add es, not s, to the third person singular. Okay, so that's the positive form. What about the negative? Well, who remembers? That's right. With the negative form of the present simple, we have to use another verb, an auxiliary verb. When we want to make the negative in the present simple, we use the auxiliary verb do, and we add the word not. So, this means we get 2 forms, do not and does not. We use do not, or the short abbreviated form, don't, for the subjects I, you, we, you and they. We use does not for the short abbreviated form doesn't for the third person singular, he, she and it. We take the negative form and then add the verb in the infinitive that we want to use. And remember, we add the verb in the infinitive. We made the subject change in the auxiliary verb, so we don't have to change anything for the third person singular with the main verb. I get up, I don't, do not get up. You like, you don't, do not like. He, she, it works. He, she, it doesn't, does not work. We cook, We don't, do not cook. You speak French. You don't, do not speak French. They wake up at 6:30. They don't, do not wake up at 6:30. He doesn't works at the weekend. He doesn't work at the weekend. All right, so we know how to make the negative of verbs in the present simple. All we have to do is work out what the subject is. I, you, he, she, it, we, you or they, and then pick the correct form of do or does plus not, don't or doesn't. Then we add the main verb in the infinitive. Simple. Now, if we want to make the negative form of the verb to be, then that's a little bit different, but it's just as easy. First, let's have a quick look at the positive form of the present simple, shall we? I am, you are, he is, she is, it is. We are, you are, they are. Okay, so that's easy enough, isn't it? All we have to watch out for is the first person singular, I, and the third person singular, he, she, and it. The others are all the same, are. Great. Now, let's think about how we make the negative form. Do you all remember? Well, for a start, which word are we going to use to make the negative? Any ideas? That's right, it's our old friend, the word not. To make the verb to be negative, we add not. I am not. You are not. He is not. She is not. It is not. We are not. You are not. They are not. Okay, all right, but what do we all prefer? Yes, we all prefer the short form, don't we? Yes, so let's see that in a table, shall we? I'm not. You're not, or you aren't. He's not, or he isn't. She's not, or she isn't. It's not, or it isn't. We're not, or we aren't. You're not, or you aren't. They're not, or they aren't. Fantastic! So, we can see once again that when we make the short negative form of the verb to be, for most of the subjects we have two possibilities. Either we add the auxiliary verb to the subject and abbreviate there, like with you plus are plus not, you're not, or we add not to the auxiliary verb, not to the subject, like with you plus are plus not, you aren't. So this means that we can choose two ways to make the short negative form of the verb to be with almost all the subjects, apart from which one? Yes, the only subject where we can't do this is the first person singular. With the first person singular, we can only ever say I'm not. With all the other subjects, we have a choice. But with the first person singular, with I, when we want to use the short or abbreviated negative version of the verb to be, we have to say I'm not. I'm not. I amn't. And that's all we've got for today. Yes, you can believe me, I would never lie to you. Well, probably not. So, our lesson for the day is done, and now you're free to do whatever you fancy for the rest of the afternoon. So, remember to have fun no matter what you do, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have fun, have a coffee, and then, well, have another coffee and a cocktail. See you all later. Bye.